Hi, everyone. Welcome to VRAR Bytes, our weekly podcast featuring the movers and shakers in the simulation and training industry who are members of the VRARA Association Central Florida Chapter. Today, my guest is Russ Shepard, who is the Vice President of Business Development at Aero Simulation based in Tampa. Like many of my other guests on this show, Russ is well known in the modeling and simulation industry and is a true pioneer in the development of flight simulators of all types. Russ got his start in the early 1990s as a project engineer right out of college and worked with a few companies before joining Aero Simulation in 1996, and he's been there now nearly 25 years. Russ has built simulators for nearly every major type of military aircraft you can imagine, from E-2s and C-130s, helicopters like UH-60s, and all of the training aircraft variants up to some of the really cool work that he's doing now with the B-1 bomber, where they're using virtual reality technology to supplement full flight simulators. So thank you very much for joining us today, Russ. Can you tell us a little bit more about Aero Simulation?
Yeah, so we've been in business for about 37 years early on, just doing, some aerodynamic work for other companies. In the mid 90s, we got a few contracts to do some major upgrades to Marine Corps KC-130s, EA-6Bs, and the Coast Guard training devices. And as part of that, that's where I came on board, and our company went from 6 to 25 and continued growing to where we're at about 183 people today.
Wow.
We are in 9 different locations around the country, supporting the Air Force at 7 locations. Supporting the Coast Guard and in Mobile, Alabama, and then, of course, our Tampa, Florida location. We have about 120 people in Tampa, building trainers and supporting those training devices out in the field. So about half of our people are engineers, and the rest are manufacturing personnel and support personnel, program managers, et cetera. Very happy to be here and happy to talk to you guys.
Yeah, excellent. So you focus only or exclusively on military aircraft? Is that your specialty?
That is. We chose a long time ago that we would stay in that lane. It's worked out well for us with COVID coming along and seeing what some of the other companies that deal with commercial simulators have had to deal with. We're happy to be in the military realm this year.
Have you seen COVID create more demand for virtual training or less demand? How would you characterize that?
Yeah, I think it has increased the demand for virtual training. You just can't spend as much time. I mean, between that and budget cuts, you just can't spend as much time in the aircraft as you really need to.
Right.
They need to find more ways that people don't have to come into the simulator buildings and train. So the virtual realm will help them to do some of that training at home or in classrooms by themselves instead of getting in a simulator close to a lot of other people.
Right. So, I mean, you and I have talked about this over the past couple of years, and I guess you guys started your journey into virtual reality a couple of years ago.
Yeah, actually about a year and a half ago, we started heading down that path. Flight simulators are virtual reality sort of anyway, right?
Yeah,
But actually stepping into what's traditionally known as VR, AR, started about a year and a half ago. Right?
Okay, great. All right, well, let's do this. Let's jump into our 5 and 5, which is 5 questions in 5 minutes. So first question, what is the most interesting project that you've seen or worked on that uses XR technology? And let me guess, it's going to be one of yours.
It is. So we're going to start, we've been playing with VR technology for about a year and a half. But on January 11th, we received a contract for an Phase 2 SBIR for the Air Force to build a B-1 virtual ATD. It's going to be a little bit different than most VR trainers out there in that we're going to use the real, the host software from the weapons system trainer and the operational flight programs from the weapons system trainer and from the aircraft, so that the fidelity behind the VR is the same fidelity that they would have in the in the weapon system trainer. And also concurrency between the weapon system trainer and the VR trainer. You modify one of them, that software can just be copied over to the other one. It's using HMDs, haptic gloves, but real flight controls on this training device.
Oh, that's really exciting. Now, I'm sure because it's a B-1 bomber, it's classified, so you're not going to be able to share a lot of the content with the audience, correct?
Right. That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations on that. That's exciting. So question number 2, what do you think the biggest challenges are facing broad-scale adoption of XR?
Well, so our experience is haptics. That's where a lot of the problems come in. How do you immerse this person in an environment where they're normally going to be using their hands, they're normally going to be reaching out and touching things in the cockpit, and you have to have a way of making them believe that they're really there. In our experience in the last year and a half, we've gone through 3 different companies' haptic gloves. Each one of them have a lot of capabilities, but I think HMDs have really come a long ways, and the resolution is good enough with the Vario, which is one of the ones we use to actually read, the enunciators and read things in the cockpit, which you couldn't do with the resolution before. But haptics is probably the area where we see there's a lot of growth. There's been a lot of progress in the last couple of years. I just don't think it's fully there yet.
Okay, it's very interesting because I wrote an article a couple of years ago that I posted on LinkedIn on the different the different haptic technologies and kind of comparing them, and I said then they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and it's going to be really interesting over the next couple of years to see where they're going. And haptics and Bebop and VR Glove, all these guys have made some great progress. So I'm also really excited to see this technology continuing to get better, and agree with you that you get the haptics and the quality of the HMDs all together and the software that drives it. Now we've got real, real capabilities that we can scale. Okay, question number 3. Who in the VRAR community inspires you, or who do you follow to find out what's happening?
Well, we've been really watching Flight Safety International for a couple of years now. We're more than a product company. We're really looking at those other companies that are doing some of the same things we are in the broader simulation field, but have started diving into VR, AR, and Flight Safety has done a good job of that. They started mixing that into their portfolio of different training devices, and watching them and how they've also integrated some of their training technology into that has really been an inspiration, and told us, well, this is going more and more mainstream. It's not just a segment. It's really being built into the fabric of flight training.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I think, when I look at it, you have the military over here investing in one area, and then you have the commercial training companies investing in another. But we're starting to see a lot of cross-pollination, right? Which I think really drives better adoption across the industries.
Sure.
Okay, number 4. Are you working on anything at the moment that would be interesting to our members?
Well, in addition to the B1, which we talked about, we've also built the first thing that we built was an MH60 VR device. We built that with actually a sled, so that you're sitting in a seat with real flight controls, loaded flight controls. In this case, we use Moog, and some flat panels, so that when you reach out and touch something, that you actually feel the pressure of, I've touched something, whether it's a side console or the one in front of you. We've designed it to be reconfigurable easily, and with the modular flight controls, we can swap those out real easily. We're actually going to integrate that with Blue Drop's hoist simulator, and have those devices operating together. We've been using Battle Space Simulations MACE for some of our threat environment on that device, and also their Viper DIS. So we've been trying to reach out and look at a lot of those tools that are not normally mainstream in the flight simulation space, like communications and sounds and what have you, and using the gaming technology in that. I mean, Mace is not really a gaming technology tool. It's been adopted by the Air Force in a lot of areas, and it's very, very strong. But that's what we're trying to do, is trying to integrate this device with other devices and see where we can go from there.
Excellent. Okay, last question. What would you like to see from the VRAR Association?
Well, you guys have been doing a great job. Quite frankly, we've been really busy, and our team is very small. So they jump out there every now and then, as well as I do, to see what you guys are doing. We think that you guys have provided us a lot of opportunities to see what other companies are doing in this environment, and really that gives us ideas. That's what the whole purpose of this is, so that you stimulate that conversation, you stimulate those ideas, so you can say, okay, well, I've got A, now I see where it can fit with B, C, and D to create a new training environment. So I think that's really good. You've provided a lot of training opportunities out there, things like this, so that we can see what other companies are doing are great. So really just keep going with what you're doing, and you guys keep adding new there's so many sessions that you put out there that it allows us to cherry pick what's important to us at the moment, and I think that's great. So just continue doing that, continue expanding that, will help the industry quite a bit.
Okay, we really appreciate that. Okay, so today my guest has been Russ Shepard, Vice President of Business Development from Aero Simulation. And thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.